Samuel Ramani from Oxford. He's a researcher at the University of Oxford, specialising in Russian foreign policy. Great to have you on the programme. Help us understand, why are we seeing so many expulsions of diplomats right now?
Well, thank you for inviting me. First of all, I think that the Biden administration's imposition of new sanctions on Russia, which extended to Russian election interference, the allegations that Russia has supplied bounties to the Taliban to kill American troops, Russian disinformation in Africa, and many other issues, that explains the U.S. diplomatic expulsions, because it's almost become customary now that when there is a breakdown of diplomatic relations or a diplomatic crisis, diplomatic presences get reduced. I would say that Poland is following the European Union's directive of solidarity with the United States. So the hostile actions may be kind of a cover for that. Whereas the Czech Republic's expulsion of diplomats is probably entirely independent, because it's an investigation into the Prague ammunition depot bombing in 2014 that found that the two Skripal assassination attempt suspects were involved there. So I think that the Czech Republic situation is a little different than the others, but most of the others are tied to the broader Biden-Putin spat.
So why, okay, they're different, these are four countries, but why are we seeing them all happening now?
Well, I think it's just a general sign of the of transatlantic cooperation forming, with the United States paying more attention to building bridges with the European Union under Biden compared to under Trump, and the general fact that the U.S. Foreign policy direction towards Russia, at least in terms of rhetoric, is becoming decidedly more confrontational. So that explains why the Europeans are aligning with the U.S. much more closely than they would have been under the previous administration. Moreover, there is the side effect of the rising escalation of Russian troops mobilizing in the Ukrainian border, which is alarming European officials. So in order to show that they're willing to deter Russian aggression in Ukraine, they're taking a principled and strong stand against the Russians on other issues too.
And can I just ask you about that, Samuel? Do you think we're on the verge of conflict between Ukraine and Russia?
Well, Margarita Simonian, who's the head of RT, basically said a couple of days ago that Russia would move forward to invade Ukraine. The Russian media is threatening much more aggressive posturing. But there are also voices of restraint within the Kremlin, including Putin's own press secretary, Dmitry Peskov, who says that the radical rhetoric that you're seeing from the Russian state media does not necessarily represent Russian official policy. And I think that those voices of restraint will ultimately win out. The primary focus of the Russian people is on COVID-19, and Putin has staked his fourth-term legitimacy on improving the socioeconomic conditions of the people. Ongoing wars like Ukraine and Syria are much less popular now than they were 5 or 6 years ago, and that will probably be the deterrent on Russia's side.
And how do you think that the West will respond? Because we're seeing, we've just heard from the UK where you are, British warships will set sail for the Black Sea in May.
Well, I think that there'll certainly be a lot more drills coming forward. I mean, NATO has been working very hard to harmonize the Baltic Sea and the Black Sea as joint theaters to contain Russia. And that has even enlisted Turkey's support with regards to the Black Sea. So it's one of the areas in which, even though Turkey is having problems with France and other European countries, they're still cooperating on this threat. So there'll be more drills on the Black Sea, like the one you mentioned with Britain, and harmonized on the Baltic Sea. There will be more probably diplomatic expulsions. The U.S. presence in Russia, for example, may be cut to 300, which will be the lowest level of diplomatic presence since the early stages of the Cold War. So there'll be gestures like that, but there probably won't be a major military escalation in Ukraine, also because the West needs Russia. The Europeans and the Americans need Russia if they want to bring a resolution to the Iran nuclear impasse and resolve the JCPOA, uphold the international arms control regime, deal with global issues like climate change or anything that hits in the UN. And those practical indicators will probably mean that the Europeans and the Americans will tread on the side of caution and rely more on symbolism and escalatory drills.
Samuel Ramani, live for us there from the University of Oxford. Thank you very much indeed. Great to get your analysis.